Alright, so welcome back to the channel, guys, and today we're going to be deep cleaning this Dodge Ram 2500, which is used as a farm truck. It's also powered by a Cummins, and that's just super cool because I love a diesel truck. I'm sure you guys do too. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the outside, and we're going to spray it down first before we start the wash process, and that includes getting inside the door jambs. And because we're going to be deep cleaning the inside, I always like to do this first when I'm doing the outside of the car, is rinse those off. Even if some water does get sprayed in, we're going to be cleaning that up anyways, so there's no reason not to spray out all that dirt to make your life easier when you're cleaning the interior later on. Now for all the chrome, the wheels, and any trim pieces on the body that are hard to clean up, I'm using an acid on those to kind of get those clean, because one, it eats any of that dirt and grime and gets it loosened up, especially here on these wheels and exhaust tips. So that way when you rinse it off, all of that just gets eaten away and just rinses off really, really easy with a pressure washer. Now for one of my favorite parts, it's time to bust out the foam cannon, cover the entire truck with soap and foam so that way it can soak into anything that's stuck on the body still, any of those bugs, any of that dirt and grime, so that way it can loosen up before we use our wash mitt later on. So I use the 2-bucket method to wash the truck, and I start with the top and work my way down, and I'm kind of using the red and gray trim there as my designation between the top and the bottom. But once I get the top part rinsed off and washed, I'm going to be doing the front and rear bumpers and then those side panels in the gray area. And the reason why you want to do that is those are the dirtier areas of the truck, or any car for that matter, and you don't want to carry any of that excess dirt over to the painted panels that you don't want to scratch. But for this truck in particular, because it is a farm truck, the owner wasn't super worried about polishing the paint and clearing anything up, because it is going to get super dirty again and it's going to get scratched again, and a ceramic coating is kind of overkill for a truck of this. So once we get it rinsed off, we're going to be using a spray-on ceramic coating to help with dirt removal later on when the car is washed again, and also just to kind of give it a shine for how good it is. Now, like always, guys, Fox Clean, I have drying towels, detailing brushes, microfiber towels. I have pet hair brushes, which we'll definitely be using on the inside of this truck. But these drying towels kick butt, and I also am running a special where if you buy the entire bundle of Fox Clean products, you get 15% off your entire order, which is a huge savings, and you get a ton of stuff. So make sure you guys check out Fox Clean after this video and pick them up, because I am selling out of these fast. Now, the outside of the truck all cleaned up, the next thing that I want to do is restore all the bumper trim, the door handles, the mirrors, any of that black plastic that's been faded from the sun. And the best thing that I use is the Cerakote trim kit. It's super easy to pick up at Walmart because I always carry it there. It goes on super easy, and it lasts over 200 washes or more. I haven't found an easier product to apply that does as good as a job as this ever. So that's why I always keep extra kits on me if I ever run across a vehicle that needs it. And if I ever need to pick one up, like I mentioned, you can just swing by Walmart and get a kit. Now, in the past, I've tried other products like dyes and things like that, and sometimes you have to worry about getting on the paint or other pieces of material because it can stain it. Whereas with this stuff, you just kind of wipe it off with a microfiber towel, and everything looks amazing and it lasts a really long time. So the end of the video, you'll see a lot more after shots of this stuff, but here's a few just to kind of show you guys how good of a job it does. And there's not a whole lot of steps you have to do. All you have to do is put on gloves and wipe it on, and your plastic gets restored just like this. So definitely recommend Cerakote trim kit if you guys have faded plastic trim. Now, with all the trim and the car washed and everything kind of restored on the outside, the inside is going to need a ton of attention. So the first thing I obviously need to do is remove everything out of the vehicle. And yeah, there's a lot of pennies in the door panel. I couldn't even hold them all because there were so many. But I'm trying to get out all of the tools, all of the debris, anything larger than my vacuum can pick up before we rip out the seats to get a really good idea of how dirty the floor is. One common question or comment I get is people are like, how could a truck get this dirty, or how could a car get this dirty? And for this particular case, I would say that this is a farm truck. It gets used often. The dogs are always in it when they're going around the farm. It's got tons of hay and dirt in it, but it's really not that dirty. It's more of like just a vacuum needs to be done. And if it's a farm truck that gets used often, it's not a priority. Most farmers don't have a ton of time, and they're always worried about a lot of other things. And if you live in the Midwest or in an area where there's a lot of farming, you kind of probably understand that. But with just vacuuming the inside of this truck, as you guys will see the before and after shots when I do these segments of vacuuming takes care of 80% of a detail. It's one of the most important things, but it's also the most transforming, I feel. It makes such a huge impact just by vacuuming the floors with the condition of the vehicle. Now, a lot of you guys have the Foxtail pet detailing brush from Fox Clean, and if you don't, here's a pretty good example of how good of a job it does, and it's the best one on the market when it comes to removing pet hair. So if you have pets, or if you have, a friend that does, and they have a ton of pet hair in their vehicle, definitely head over to Fox Clean to get your pet hair brush if you need one. Now, I will say that these door panel inserts and fabric seats are the most colorful seats I've ever detailed, but just spraying all-purpose cleaner, using the drill brush to get that dirt and grime loosened up inside that fabric, and then using a microfiber towel to wipe it clean. You'll see the before and after shots here in a second of how much of a difference it made and how good these things look after compared to how dirty they were before. I think the hardest part about this truck in particular was working on the seats themselves, because the pet hair gets embedded, the straw and the hay gets embedded in the fibers, and there's really not an easy way to do it. But the best tool that I have found is using drill brushes like this cone-shaped one to pretty much just try to fling it off as fast as possible. Instead of using a vacuum or extractor, which will never get it out, you have to use the combo of the pet hair brush along with that drill brush to remove it as much as possible, and then kind of pick out the remaining bits before you get to the extraction phase. And for all of you that love the extraction portions of these videos, you're going to get plenty of that with all of these seats needing to get extracted. And my favorite part about extracting these seats in particular was the fact that there wasn't any oil, diesel fuel, or grease embedded in them. It was just more like spilled drinks, food, or dirt. So it made cleanup a lot easier. I didn't have to do multiple passes with your greaser. These just got cleaned up with all-purpose cleaner, and then using my extractor with hot water to remove any of that dirt embedded in that fiber. One thing when it comes to floor mats is sometimes I use the extractor on less dirty floor mats than others. A lot of the times it ends up being the fact that it's dark outside and I can't work outside and film it, so I just use my extractor. But since this is in the middle of the day, for me, floor mats, I always try to pressure wash them if I can, because with floor mats and your feet always being on them as the first point of contact, they get the dirtiest, and that's kind of their purpose, right? To get dirty so that way your carpet doesn't. And for floor mats, I always recommend, if you have the opportunity, to pressure wash them and then hang them to dry, because there's just so much dirt in there that if you use an extractor or try to do a typical method like your carpets or your seats, it's going to take 5 times as long, because you're just going to be extracting dirt after dirt after dirt and repeating the process over and over again. Whereas with a pressure washer, it expedites the process substantially and does a better job at getting that deep embedded dirt out. Now I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. This is probably one of my favorite trucks I've detailed, because the outside and the wheels and the chrome looked amazing afterwards. And like I mentioned earlier, I was super happy the fact that this one was tuned and had a lot of upgrades to it. So rolling coal is always fun. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, thumbs it up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next week.